morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 27th of September, 10 to 9 a.m. My local time. So it's time to go over the markets for this week, and we've had some crazy movements last week. I'm pretty sure you're all aware of what's been going on, especially with the pound and the dollar. There's been some huge movements going on. So, as always, back to usual, we'll start on EURGBP first. And as you can see from this chart, we've had some huge movement against the pound. More so the pound that's dropped off in strength. As you can see, we haven't managed to catch a trade on this because it's moved away pretty quickly and not give many chances to jump back in. We were looking for pullbacks here on these demand zones, but it didn't quite reach. They created fresh zones and just kept powering through. We did miss the beginning of the move back in August, which would have been near on 900 pips. So a bit of a shame on that one. So what can we expect next? Well, looking to it, we're in a pretty big free range of movement here that's just kicked off. As you can see, price went right up into these supply zones and rejected right out. That's a pretty big rejection. Let's have a little measure. That's a 285 pip rejection back down. So it's clear that it didn't want to move right up into that range and hold there, especially as GBP against the pound rejected against the dollar. Sorry, we'll go over that in a bit. So will the move continue? Well, it looks like it possibly could do. We might even fill the wick or visit these supply zones again. But I'd like to see a bit of a deeper retracement this time. Hopefully, it could fill this imbalance here from this candle to here. So we could look for a bit of a pullback in price and possibly buy in on this trend and continue the move up. So yeah, there's not really much else. I mean, if we did settle around the supply area, we could take a sell on the pullback, but obviously it's better to buy in along the trend. So that'll be my idea for EURGBP if you want to trade this pair. Look for the pullback in price on this bullish trend that we're in so far, and then look for price to fill this imbalance, and then we can get a buy on, and then join along with the trend. Hopefully it's possible that the wick may fill. We'll have to see what happens. So yeah, EURGBP, look for a pullback in price, fill the imbalance, and then we'll get a buy on, hopefully around this demand zone here to continue up further. So with that pair covered, we'll move to GBPJPY. Now, bit of a shame we didn't catch this one. We can delete that now because that's gone. For a couple of weeks now, I had those zones marked out. We had this supply zone here marked out, and we had this big supply zone at the top here marked out. I had it marked out for everybody for a couple of weeks. Hopefully somebody who's following me caught that sell from the top there, but I missed it, unfortunately. I think I went over last week where you would have taken the trade from that rejection on that 4 hour. We had multiple 4 hour candles closing all right along that resistance line, and that would have been your perfect sell to take right on that rejection candle there. And if we measure the move, well, as you can see, the move's been pretty big. That's 1,776 pips down to that demand zone at the bottom. So it's good to mark these supply and demand zones out, and then if you take your setups that you have marked out, then you can catch some seriously big moves. So let me know in the comments if you did catch that move from the zones that I had marked out, because that was a huge move what happened on the pound. 1,766 pips in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in 2 weeks of trading. It's a pretty good return, especially on a pretty small stop loss. So yeah, I'd like to see if anybody caught that move. It's a shame I didn't get on it. I've been otherwise preoccupied with some other bits and bobs, so I didn't manage to catch it, unfortunately. But look where price touched down and then rejected from instantly. Boom, that demand zone. We've had multiple trades from this demand zone here. We caught 800 pips on that move there when we bought that time. I think we bought at this previous zone here previously. You know, we've had thousands of pips from this demand zone. If you look back on my posts on all my forum pages and on my social media pages, we've bought from this demand zones a couple of times and we've made, you know, over thousands of pips. So, you know, it's not ironic that price touched there and rejected back up instantly. You know, price moves from zone to zone, and these big zones, you know, it's quite often that they're going to visit it. So what's next? Well, I'd like to get a buy on, but I'd like to wait for price to come back down. Hopefully I'd like to see it fill this wick, JPY to continue its strength, more so over the pound being weak, because I think we might see a pullback in the pound, which will go over against the dollar soon. Yeah, so I mean, I've had this buy zone here to mark out. I've had it on the chart. If you look back, I've had it marked out for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Nothing's changed. I'd love to get a buy on from this demand zone yet again. So there is some imbalances here to be filled. So it's possible that we could get a sell on if the trend is continued bearish. So, you know, there's imbalances to fill here. That flip zone could be a nice place to sell from. I can see a pullback happening here, and then we'll have to look for a supply zone that's created. Maybe we get a 50% doji candle, bearish candle underneath this, the bullish channel that was going up, you know, around this area. That might be something to look for over the next few days. But ideally long term, which I've said many times previously, I'd love to get a buy on deeper down here back at this demand zone. So a couple of options to look out for on GBPJPY. So just be aware, I wouldn't trade it right now because the reactions are still going off from what happened last week and the continuation on Monday. So just be patient, and the opportunities will present themselves to us over the next few days, possibly next week. So with that pair covered, we'll move on to EURAUD. Not much movement happened on. I think a couple of weeks ago I gave a sellout that we could sell from the supply zone, but as you can see, it's been pretty choppy. We have moved down into some profit from this cold sell, but nothing much going on really, to be honest. If you did take that, you could still hold. Just make sure that you move your stop loss to your entry position once you get over 1 to 1 or at least 2 to 1, something like that, just to protect your profits and don't lose anything. But this is not looking like a favourable pair for me at the moment. We did have the big movement, we had a big reaction here, but it looks like it could possibly just move sideways for a while now. So I'm going to wait on EURAUD to give some stuff out on this pair. Yeah, so we'll move on from that. With that covered, we'll go to GBPUSD, which is the big one, which has kicked off. I thought this zone might hold. I can delete that demand zone now because it's been broken. So sorry, let me just move in here. That demand zone was broke. So we can just mark that out as a broken zone. And it got broke with that candle there. So what happened to price? We kept tanking, and we've moved right down and we hit that zone. I didn't think we'd get there, but we did. The tank price right down to a zone for prices that we'd never seen before. You know, the last zone from 1985, and we did dip below it, and we did start to head towards parity with the dollar. But you know, the pound has always got a good strength over the dollar, and especially the euro. It's a lot stronger than the euro, and it has been, you know, historically. And as you can see, they said no, we're not going to have that, and it rejected right out. And as you can see, we closed in that demand zone from 1985. So let's get a buy on. Why not? Fortune favours the brave. I mean, we could just buy from here, and we'll get a stop loss under that zone. Again, we're looking for a long swing back up. Let's aim for that supply zone there. We want to start trading above the moving average to keep going. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the dollar would ever. I don't think the pound would ever go to parity to the US dollar. I mean, obviously, other currencies have said that in the past, but the euro was created. It hasn't got a historical value as much as the pound. So I'm quite confident that the Bank of England will have meetings and they'll get this sorted out over the next week or two. I'm pretty sure they're all talking in meetings at the moment to see what we can do. I mean, the percent of the borrowing against the pound against the GDP is not as high as other European countries, so we've still got room to borrow and make the pound come back in strength. So I'm quite confident in the pound that we'll see a turn, and there's no better place to buy than very low down from what we've never seen before. So you've got to try these things. Obviously, stop loss got hit as last time, but again, you use a very small position because we're looking for a volume of pips in the big turns. It's a swing trade. If you don't try these ideas, you'll miss the moves. People will say, we need to wait for trend confirmation, but by that time you've already missed a few hundred pips. You know what I mean? So there's different ways of trading. There's no one right way to trade. You either like to take a little risk or you don't. Risk equals reward sometimes. So I'm going to call this buy on here. I'm going to delete that one because we hit stop loss. And let's look for the pound to recover now and give us some profits back in pips. So yeah, just watch and hold on the pound. I'd be very, 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 very surprised if it did continue down, break that zone and head lower. I would be, I'd be mortified because it's nothing we've ever seen before. Is it possible to happen? Of course, it's possible. But hopefully the dollar, it's been propped up for so long now. That in itself is in the supply zone, which we'll go over next. Things always go up and always come down. It's got to turn at some point, and there's no better point to turn than here. So that's my call for the pound against the US dollar. So if you want to join me on that one, we'll join in from here. As soon as this video finishes, I'm going to stick another swing buy trade on from this zone here, and then we'll look to ride it back up. So with that pair covered, we'll move to EURUSD, which is pretty similar to the pound. We've hit parity many times. We're currently below it. We're sitting right at the bottom of that 2002 demand zone. Currently trading at 96 cents. So it's a pretty much similar situation to the pound. It's just being propped up against the dollar, and you could even take a buy in here on the euro. If you like trading the euro pair. So if you want to trade EURUSD, pretty much the same as what I'm going to do with the pound against the dollar. Get a small position on here and look for the big long swing up. There's got to be some weakness coming in from the dollar at some point. And as we'll go over soon, it should be coming soon. So that's my call on the euro. The same as the pound. We're buying from the lows, which is what we're supposed to do. So with that pair covered, we'll move over to gold. Gold is tanking, which is pretty strange because usually gold is a hedge against inflation, which obviously is what's going on in America and the dollar. Again, I hit stop loss on my gold trade, which is not a problem because that's why we have risk management and that's why we have a stop loss. Imagine if you didn't have a stop loss and you kept hoping that it would come back. You're just gonna kill your account. There's no point. You've got to have your cut-offs, and you've got to live by it because you can't win them all. Take the losses and move on to the next one. But yeah, as I was saying, this demand zone can be deleted now. Go over to the monthly because that's been killed. Let me just mark that out. back to the daily. So I'll move that to the back so we can see what we're doing. So where's next? Well, let's go back to the monthly. Look at this big indecisive zone here that created this big demand zone. It looks like we're gonna mate it. Looks like a big M being formed here on the monthly. So we'll look on the weekly. Yeah, looks like a nice zone that we could aim for. We could possibly even trim that down to a weekly demand zone at the bottom here. It wouldn't be nice if we went that low, but again, it wouldn't be a problem because, you know, we're buying gold at a low price, so that could be an aim. It could possibly reach this little zone here. Let's get a little line on there just so we can watch it at that point. Okay, so gold, usually it's a hedge against inflation. So obviously when economies are in trouble and recessions are kicking off and they're raising rates, usually you could buy gold and it would go up in value because it's a physical commodity that holds value. But obviously with the dollar being propped up, gold has dropped in price. And yeah, as you can see, we're still tanking, but you know, it's providing us with cheaper prices. So let's wait and see gold to move a bit lower, hopefully. Let's get a couple of setups on just so we can possibly see. This could be a possible one here. Move that over. You know, ideally we want to buy as low as we can, so this big weekly demand zone at the bottom here would be ideal to get a buy on. So the trend is looking like it's continuing. We've got a nice bearish trend. Oh, pardon me. We've got a nice bearish trend action there. It's respecting. It's being textbook, higher highs, lower lows. There's nothing to say at the moment that we're going to turn, depending on what's going to happen with the dollar, obviously. But once it gets down to these levels, I'm going to stick a buy on and look for the change in fortunes with gold. So yeah, so get those zones marked out and just keep watch over the next week, and we'll see where we end up with gold. Yeah, ideally looking to buy long term on a nice swing up. So with that pair covered, we'll just take a look with what's been going on with the dollar. As you can see, we're in this big weekly supply zone here. You know, we've had incredible movements on the dollar. We've broke multiple supply zones on the way up. We've reached this weekly supply zone here that you can see, which goes all the way back to 2002. It's currently rejecting out, but you know, it's rejected these previous weekly zones before, and then we've just shot straight through it. So we need to keep a watch. There's no wick on today's candle, so hopefully we start to see a pullback from here. If this weekly candle did wick out from this supply zone, then it's possible that we could see a downturn for at least the short term in the dollar and give some breathing room back to the other pairs, the pound, gold, and other currencies like the euro as well. So yeah, we're hoping for the dollar to to ease up on everything now, because it's pretty ridiculous what they're doing and the strength that it's shown. You know, it's going to turn, and it can turn from these supply zones here that we've got marked out. So yeah, keep watch for that one. Yeah, as I said before, the opportunities will present themselves over the next few days, and then we can jump on them. So with that covered, we'll move to a bit of crypto, and we'll have a look at Bitcoin, which is still holding the zone. I'm still holding this buy because I believe it's still the bottom. As you can see with the dollar, even still being propped up and shooting into the moon, crypto hasn't dropped. Everyone's like, we're going lower, we're going lower. Well, the past couple of weeks would have been a perfect opportunity for this demand zone to be broke, and it still hasn't broken. It's shown quite a good resilience against the dollar, Bitcoin as well, especially right at this zone, this demand zone between 17,600, 500. and 19,600. So I'm still going to hold until that zone gets broke. I'm holding. Hopefully, you know, fortune favours the brave, and then we do get our upturn and we start a bullish trend. And then, yeah, we can get rewarded for that. So it's pretty much the same across the board in all crypto, as we'll have a look at Ethereum. We saw the bottom, and we're continuing to stay above that lower low that was made. Again, we're still making higher lows now, but it's in a bit of a squeeze really. We could have a look from there. Yeah, I'd like to see price trading back above the moving average really before we can start a trend, and then obviously this trend line, the downtrend line, and then we can really start to think that short to medium term at least we'll get some nice bullish movement on crypto. And I'm not sure if you're aware, we'll have a look at XRP for the first time. That shot up last week. It went over 40%, you know, against the dollar. You know, it just shows that the dollar doesn't rule all, especially with crypto. It can have its own movements, and that was a big move. I think it was 40% or something. What was it? 32 to 50. Not far off 100% gain, doubling in the space of a week or so. So yeah, crypto's looking good for me. I think the bottom's in. So, you know, calling all the buys, buying to hold in my wallet as well has obviously been a good call at the moment, and we're going to continue to do so. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week, everybody. Not much going on. We have had some crazy movements. As I say, I'm going to be buying the pound as soon as I close this video down right now. Holding Bitcoin. I'm going to wait for gold to get in another position, hopefully to move a bit lower. And that is pretty much it for this week, everybody. I'll see you again next week. Cheers, everyone. Take care.